Good morning, afternoon, or evening, all of my outdoor adventurous friends. I am the Outdoor Gypsy, and today is another 5-Minute Friday where I try and bring you the highest quality content that I can with as much information as possible in 5 minutes or less on hiking. If you enjoy this video, go ahead and massage that like button down below. Consider subscribing if you enjoy hiking and backpacking, as this is primarily what my channel is devoted to. Stay tuned all the way until the very end of the video, where I will be sharing my thoughts, tips, tricks, things you may want to know before you come out here to Pinnacles National Park. Without further ado, I'm going to be hiking the North Wilderness Trail to the Old Pinnacles Loop and the Balconies Caves Trail. Hopefully we get to see some beautiful California condor along the way. Let's get some nature love. All right, guys, welcome back. I'm going to be going over some generalities with Pinnacles National Park, and then in just a few moments, more specifically, the details on the hike that I performed that you saw in this video. Pinnacles National Park was actually founded as a national monument back in 1908. It was then redesignated as a national park in 2013, making it California's newest national park, as well as its smallest national park at just over 26,000 acres in size. Even though it is California's smallest national park, there is nothing small about this park in character. It boasts beautiful, gigantic rock structures that you will hike to and in between, and it also hosts one of America's largest remaining bird species. Pinnacles National Park has three primary highlights to it. First one being the Bear Gulch as well as the Balconies cave trail system. The second being the famed endangered California condor, and the third being the High Peaks Trail, which allows you to hike towards the park's namesake, the Pinnacle Spires. The park has two entrance points, the west side as well as the east side. The east side is the primary access center for the park. That's where you will find the visitor center as well as the campground, and where most people will access the park. The campground itself hosts a bunch of different ways in which you can camp, from RV camping to tent cabin camping, as well as just regular tent camping. The sites are nestled between the hills in the little valley. I personally think sites 34 and 35 are probably the best overall sites. Most of the campsites are pretty nice and fairly well spread out. There are some, like in the case for me, where they were a little bit close together for my personal liking, but then as you got a little bit further into the loops, they were a little bit more spread out and offered a good amount of solitude. As is customary for most national park campsites, they do come with fire rings, a picnic table, and bear boxes. I would say keep an eye on your food here, because I did notice when I dropped just even a few bits of food, the animals were all over it, so just keep that in mind. If you are going to be traveling from across the country to visit Pinnacles National Park, more than likely you are going to be flying into either San Jose or San Francisco Airport, and then you will be making the drive south from there, at which point you will be eventually on Route 25, and I just absolutely love this drive. If you have the opportunity to make it down during March or April, these are the best 2 months to visit this park, in my opinion, where the temperatures are just right, usually in the 70s and the 80s, and it's just after a lot of the winter rains, which make these hills just beautiful lush green. And then if you hit it just right, you will see that they're going to be painted with all sorts of wildflowers, just making the drive absolutely stunning. One tidbit of information I would like to pass along here that kind of caught me off guard is Pinnacles can have very extreme temperature fluctuations, and they can go well up into the hundreds, but then again drop 30, 40 plus degrees by the end of the day or by very early morning. So bring lots of layers and make sure you dress accordingly. One last point I would like to make here generally for Pinnacles is, if you are coming here specifically for the cave trails, call ahead of time and talk with the rangers and see if they are open, because they do at a couple of different points throughout the year close these caves completely, as they do serve as breeding grounds for bats. All right, I'm going to be turning my attention now more specifically to the hike that I had done here, that being the old Pinnacles Loop to the Balconies Cave Trail, and then eventually to the North Wilderness Trail. I did this hike on March 30th, and this has been just after an extremely wet and abnormal winter and spring here in California. The major parts of this trail, that being the old Pinnacles Loop and the Balconies Cave Trail, are very well taken care of. They're super easy to follow and you shouldn't have any issues. The North Wilderness Trail, however, is a secondary trail. It is unmaintained. There are numerous different blowdowns where you might need to have a little bit of route finding. At the very least, it does just follow the creek, so if you trust your gut, more than likely you will be able to get through this, but I would definitely carry a map, or at least an electronic version of the map, with you to make sure you can get out okay. As you can see by the video, there were obviously a lot of creek crossings here. This is fairly atypical. I've been to Pinnacles National Park at least 4 or 5 times, and most of the time the creeks here are completely dry. The caves are also completely dry. Obviously, I tried to rock hop across a lot of the river creek crossings here until I got to the Balconies Cave Trail, and then I just decided, hey, you gotta take the plunge, feet are gonna get wet. Once I got to the North Wilderness Trail, I had to cross minimum the creek 12 times, maybe even more. and you just have to come to the realization, if you do this in a heavy rainfall, winter, or spring, that you are going to get your feet wet. There were definitely not as many people as I expected to be on this trail. I may have seen only 15 or 20 people, and that was just on the main sections of the trail here. Once you get to the secondary trail, that being the North Wilderness Trail, I literally saw 0 people for, I think, maybe 7, 8, even 9 miles. So if you're looking for solitude, the North Wilderness Trail in this park would be where you want to go. The Wilderness Trail itself can be a little deceiving and hard to find. It actually starts at the very end of a group of picnic tables, but there is a cutout in the fence, as you can see here, that you pass through, and then the rest of it should be fairly easy to locate. Once you start gaining a little bit in elevation here on the North Wilderness Trail, you're going to get to look back from a little bit of a distance on the Pinnacle spires and really just appreciate their magnitude. One word of caution, maybe consider panting up or really having some good bug spray here, as you are going to be going through really tall grass or low-lying bush most of the backcountry trail. As you can see here, I did not do that. There were 3 different circumstances where I felt a couple of ticks crawling up my legs, so just be prepared for that. And then, as always, on this trail, like many others I've done here, the highlights have to be the wildflowers. Because of the winter and spring rains here, I would say that the wildflowers are even cranked up more than normal this time of year. Again, these will vary quite drastically depending on the time of the year that you do this hike, but some of the wildflowers that I had seen this time of year were shooting stars, California golden violets, droves of goldfields, paintbrush, popcorn, fiddlenecks, lupine, buttercups, California poppies, and blue dicks. Last but not least, after a long day of hiking and adventuring, who doesn't like stopping for a beautiful burger and a beer? In the town of Tres Pinos, there's a place called the 19th Hole. Super cool, has a lot of great history. That's all I'm going to tell you, but it's definitely worth checking out. Let me know what you think if you do happen to check it out. Let me know, as you're visiting Pinnacles National Park, what are you most excited to see here if you haven't been here? And if you have been here, go ahead, drop a line down below. Let the people who have not been here know what they're in store for, if I've missed anything or you guys have any tips for them. All right, that's it for me for now. I am, again, the Outdoor Gypsy. I will see you guys on the next adventure.